Good morning on Tuesday, August 8th. It's episode 263 of the 359 podcast. In the house today, we've got Roger Cheng, Ben Fox Rubin, and special guest, Brianne Garrett. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you guys for having me. I'm excited
Welcome.
to finally do it.
I know, it took you the entire, this is our intern, she's wrapping up her 10-week program this week,
Last
right?
day's Friday, so I'm glad I got to hop on.
Exactly. It took us 9.5 weeks to get you on, but I'm glad we finally have you on.
Me too.
Yeah.
Thank you for having me.
About damn time.
Sorry guys. Well, I mean, we did lose about a month's worth of shows. So.
Whose fault was that?
That was mostly me.
Welcome. Welcome
Welcome.
to Operation Time Suck.
Yep.
We're retitling the podcast Operation Time Suck.
Yeah, this is the kind of crack operation that we're working with here.
Alright.
So we're going to be talking about two topics. Google, obviously, in the news for firing the engineer who released that internal memo criticizing the company's diversity efforts. And then we'll be talking about the HBO hack. If you're a Game of Thrones fan, you might be interested in that. Obviously, the script for that latest episode that just aired leaked a few days before the show, and there's some new news. You know, they're asking for a ransom now. They've leaked a bit more information. So, as always, if you have any questions, leave them in the comment section. Brian will pick out the best, and we'll get to them in 3 minutes and 59 seconds.
From 3, 2...
Welcome to the 359. I'm Roger Cheng,
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
and with us is intern Brianne Garrett.
Hello, everyone. Thank you guys for having me.
So, more on Google news. Google moved quickly and reportedly fired the author of an internal memo criticizing the company's diversity efforts. The company was in a bit of a difficult position. On one hand, it didn't want to look like it was squashing the admittedly unpopular opinions of one of its employees, but also didn't want to condone the proliferation of falsehoods that women were biologically less suited to work in tech. It's part of Silicon Valley's broader struggle to include more representation, more diversity, with women and minorities in particular. But it's kind of a complicated position, right? There was a situation, right, Ben?
Yeah. We talked about this before the podcast, and I think at least the way that the author opens it seemed pretty well reasoned as far as that, it sounded like this person was a conservative and said, look, conservative or other opinions really aren't being addressed or respected. At Google, it's kind of like a monoculture, and we should allow diversity of opinions as much as a diversity of other things, as far as gender or different backgrounds.
And that all sounds pretty reasonable,
right? Unfortunately, the biological stuff
until
is where
until it sort of takes a turn for the
worst.
For the worst.
Yeah, I think he tends to go off track a little bit. He talks about how, women and men are biologically different, and that's what he attributes to the fact that there's a huge gap in the tech world. Also saying that underrepresented people shouldn't have supported programs. There's just a lot of negative in there, and I think it puts Danielle Brown especially in a bad position. She was recently just hired back in June as the VP of Diversity, and clearly they're trying to foster kind of this inclusion within the company, so it puts them in a position, what do you do when this person is kind of tainting what they're trying to do a little bit?
So,
right.
Brianne, you've been researching while you've been here diversity issues. You've had an opportunity to speak with quite a few chief diversity officers at different major tech companies. What have you been hearing from them? What are some of the efforts that they're trying to do to create buy-in or address some of these issues that have been percolating in the tech world for quite a few years now?
Yeah, I think Google and a lot of Silicon Valley tech companies have been saying that inclusion starts within the company. That the biggest thing is that employees need to feel like they're included. They need to foster a sense of everyone has these different opinions, but we need to understand that everyone has an idea. Everyone has a contribution to the company in their own way, regardless of their background, their gender. And so I think that Danielle Brown was put in a very awkward position in this case, because it's like, what do we do when someone is kind of questioning other people of different backgrounds? She's clearly Google has been making strides towards improving their diversity and inclusion. They just released their diversity report, among other companies. And so I think by doing anything other than firing him, it's kind of taking steps back for them.
Right.
So, yeah.
And from a practical level, right, like, it's going to be tough for this guy to have worked with other people now, right? His name's kind of tainted, right? Just from it would have been like,
say.
Yeah, I mean, just in terms of it within Google, right? Like, he kind of had to go because from a productivity level, like who's going to work with this guy?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree. I think Google kind of had their hands tied on this one, but if I think a silver lining potentially would be that if it does address the idea of providing a diversity of opinions, even if they're unpopular, to a certain extent, maybe that's a good thing that may come out of this.
All right, next up, and we'll keep it quick. The HBO hack drama continues to roll on. As you know, last month, HBO was the victim of a hack, which hackers claimed that 1.5 terabytes of data was stolen, including episodes of shows like Game of Thrones and Ballers. I know. The latest development from last night, HBO received a disclosure of a month's worth of emails from one of its executives, and also hackers released a video to HBO CEO Richard Plepper demanding a sum of money, which has been redacted, or face having all that data get released. So, I don't know. What do you think?
What do I think?
Yeah.
I hope they don't screw up the Game of Thrones stuff.
Oh,
So please back off.
And really,
Stop
even if they
doing
do
it.
release it to everyone, it's like, don't watch the stuff.
Yeah.
Just wait. Be a good person.
And Game of Thrones fans are quite vicious too.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't know if that was the right show.
All right, for those stories and more, check us out on CNET. I'm Roger Chang.
I'm Ben Fox Rubin.
I'm Brienne Garrett.
Thanks for listening.
All right, let's jump right into the chat. We've got a lot of this is sensitive subject matter, so we have to be as tactful as we can, I think, with this. Let's go with Kyle Dawson. He's got a well thought out comment here. It says, cutting off Asians and white at the knees and force less qualified people on the roles just because of their skin color. We need blind enrollment, not white intellectual guilt nonsense. Now, where do you think you're coming from with that one, sir?
Well, wait a minute. I think the point is that as we continue to talk about diversity, out in public, those tend to be comments on a lot of our diversity stories. There are a lot of people that have that opinion, and instead of going against those arguments and saying, "Look, you're completely wrong," I think ultimately, certain levels of buy-in need to be created instead of saying, "You're wrong. Stop talking about that.
Right.
Shut up." Like, maybe I don't agree with this person completely. I don't think I do, but there has to be a way of bringing more people to the table to actually explain why diversity is a good thing for your company, why diversity is a good thing for you individually and your team.
I mean, I think there needs to be a better understanding within these companies that, the idea of this whole blind hiring procedure that, that race and all that stuff shouldn't matter. Part of the problem is, from an institutional perspective, a lot of these companies, their hiring processes are built upon inherent biases that are already in place, right? That already kind of exclude certain minorities and certain perspectives. And what I've talked to a lot of diversity experts as well, and they talk about the key benefit here. It's not just about being politically correct and having a diverse workforce for the sake of diversity. It's about getting different perspectives. And a company thrives when it has different viewpoints, because that's how ideas come from, right? And so when you start to get into that kind of monoculture of one opinion, that's when it gets kind of dangerous. That's when a company gets complacent. And so,
Brienne, did you get a chance to talk to chief diversity officers about that concept of buy-in? Is that something that they addressed or they're struggling with in any way?
Yeah, I think a lot of them said there's kind of two parts of the problem. So hiring is one kind of sector. So you hire these people, you're doing the blind kind of enrollment process, application process, but once you are hiring these people, how are you keeping them satisfied when they're actually hired? So it's also about keeping them, fostering
Engaged.
and fostering an environment of inclusion once they're actually within the company, because just because they're hired doesn't mean they're going to stay and doesn't mean they're going to be happy.
Yep.
What was the other part to that?
The other part is obviously
Oh,
the hiring
right, the
process.
engagement,
So
the
yeah,
hiring and the
getting them in,
engagement. Got
getting
it.
recruiting and getting them into the company, and the other part is keeping them happy once they're there.
And getting them sort of advancing their careers, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm having a hard time fishing for comments that I really think are good commentary.
Okay.
It's a thorny subject.
It
I mean,
is.
we know that.
And everyone's entitled to their opinion. And I guess I'm just going to go ahead and start sharing some. Stanford says men and women are different, even psychologically. Men like to deal with things, women not so much. They are more on the human interaction side. I don't know if I agree with that.
Yeah, but,
I
this is-
respect your opinion. I don't necessarily agree with it.
This
Yeah.
is like certain concepts like that were what was addressed in the memo. So I guess it's good that we're talking about it. I mean, like it's pretty clear that you know, a lot of people in the tech world and outside the tech world have those types of positions and opinions, and you know, it's important to like have, you know, these types of conversation out in public as opposed to just ignoring them or
right,
pretending
or
they
shouting
don't
down,
exist.
shouting down other opinions you don't
Yeah.
agree on.
Yeah.
yeah.
Which is what we're not going to do here.
We're trying not to.
Yeah, no, I mean it's
Except for Ben's.
It's hard to be diplomatic in something like this because it's hard to keep your emotions aside of it. But
For sure.
I think
Well, look,
yeah.
the guy got fired. The guy got fired
gone.
for, you know, like a lot of these opinions were, you know, considered against the code of conduct because essentially it's like waving away, you know, the justification for a lot of people at Google
Although, you
for
know-
being there,
you know-
like which does not sound appropriate.
I mean, playing devil's advocate, you know, he says he's going to seek legal action, that, you know, that basically he was expressing his opinion about the workplace and he was fired for it. And I don't know, maybe he has an interesting case there.
You know, it's too bad because I don't think Google would actually be able to afford fighting it. You know, they're just like a small little startup, so they're in
They
a
don't
lot
have
of
enough
trouble
lawyers.
here.
You're right, you're right.
They're really in a lot of trouble here over that.
But I could just sort of imagine that being an interesting legal question
I
to
totally
answer.
agree.
Yeah.
I think, and if this does go the legal route, which I imagine it will be very interesting to see, you know, where the First Amendment lands.
Now,
on
do you
something
think
like
it'll go the
this.
legal route, or do you think that Google will settle? Google with the billions and billions of dollars. That's tricky, right?
I feel like, you know, it's kind of the lesser of two evils in this case when it comes to Google. I think they would have gotten a lot more backlash had they not fired him. So
Right.
personally, I think they went the correct route, especially given what they're trying to do with their diversity and inclusion. So it's the lesser of two evils, and I think they picked the lesser of two evils in this case.
Right. And, you know, ultimately, we probably will get sued for this. I'm sure this guy has heard from quite a few lawyers already.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
And it could end up being a pretty interesting legal argument.
Yeah,
as far as
First
like
Amendment.
you do have a right to say whatever opinions that you do want to say, but you know, in a workplace environment directly related to code of conduct,
Right.
where does that land? So
Yeah, where's that line exactly? Is that the code of conduct? Is that, I don't know. It's a as you said, a thorny issue.
there is a really great discussion going on in the chat right now between Stanford and Blue Wind Project. Stanford's latest comment was, I also think why there's more white males is because for every one minority member applying, there are 10 from overrepresented pool. It's not so much a deliberate bias. There's an interesting perspective.
right, and the memo addresses, you know, a matter of, you know, some of these, you know, gaps or differences might not have a direct relation to, you know, sexism or discrimination, and that's also an interesting
Although-
argument to at least discuss.
I mean, the counter argument to that is there are probably an equal number of women and men in Silicon Valley. And,
you don't say.
you know, even though it doesn't look like that, right? Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, but like in terms of companies, like the companies, the breakdown doesn't represent the population base.
I want to give a quick shout out to Matthew Datcher, who
Hey,
says,
Matthew Dad.
Hey, Matt.
this is definitely a topic that's impossible to sum up in 4 minutes. He is not kidding.
Yeah,
We
He's
did
right
our
about
best.
that.
we tried.
I also want to shout out Imagine Sagi,
Imagine
who
Sagi.
is exemplifying exactly what was running through my head through this. There's so many generalizations. Individuals are individuals. Recruiting women and people of color may be harder because of numbers, but doesn't mean that they are less qualified. It's a cop-out of laziness. I love that line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a lot of good,
Really good
opinions
comment.
Yeah.
Very interesting
Yeah.
opinions getting,
It's
you know.
honest.
I tend
provided.
to blame a lot of things on laziness. Just personally,
life.
professionally, you know.
I'm just want to say thank you to everybody for keeping it pretty civil in the chat. And this is
Yeah.
an easy place to get uncivil, and it's
Totally.
another shout
Easy
out to
topic.
our community here at CNET and the 359.
Yeah.
Totally.
We,
we're
definitely
like
appreciate
we're
that.
constantly impressed and surprised by like the cordial comments and like the smart comments we actually get.
Well, yeah, the
and like the
willingness to,
lack
like,
of trolls.
talk about things.
Yeah, the lack
Yeah.
of trolls, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the usual case.
Right.
for
One
a
small
lot of our
place on the
listeners.
internet where
Yes.
actual discussion can happen. So yeah, absolutely, I agree with you, Brian, and thank you very much for everybody watching the show.
Yeah. Imagine Sagi says hi, Ben.
Oh, hey,
Aww, little bromance developing.
wait.
Oh wait, we can't assume.
don't know if
we
Imagine
can't
Sagi's a
assume if
man or a
Imagine Sagi
woman.
is a man or woman.
That's true.
romance of some sort then.
Oh, don't tell my wife.
All right, so we could talk about this forever and always, and that would probably get us nowhere.
Right.
So let's just bring a little levity back in. And I am not, as been well established on this show, a Game of Thrones watcher. So
Missing out,
how
dude.
are you guys feeling throughout all of this? Are you emotionally destroyed?
Wait. Spoiler
About
alerts.
the hack?
Yes.
Oh.
Let's start
Did
with,
you see the leaks?
We're probably going to do spoiler alerts here.
Yeah,
So
spoiler
stop watching
alert.
If you want to.
Well, yeah, that last episode was kind of amazing.
Right.
And I would have been really... Well, the thing of it is, the episode itself didn't leak. It was just an outline of the episode, or like the script.
I did not pursue it.
And so-
either.
no, neither did
you
I.
Did you watch it, by the way?
I have yet to see a single episode.
So
of
she's
Game
not a
of
fan at all.
Thrones. No,
You're very lucky.
I'm a future fan. I'm planning on watching it.
Oh.
It's on my list. I just haven't
Then
gotten.
I guess
to it
we
yet.
shouldn't talk too much.
Thank you for not
Let's-
leaving me alone.
Let's not
Yeah.
delve
I
too
feel like
deep
we're like
into
the
spoilers.
1% of the world who doesn't watch Game of Thrones.
Truth.
But yeah, I will watch it soon, but I probably will forget.
Uh,
So you can go ahead and do some spoilers.
No. I would just say, like, I think if I had gone out, as I'm sure some fans did, and like read the script, I would have had a much inferior experience watching the show. Like knowing what was to come.
Can you imagine, like, that one fight sequence would have devolved into just one line? Dragon.
Yeah, I know. And then like nukes, like basically.
So I don't think it would have really provided an emphasis.
No, but I think it would have ruined the experience, right? Like I don't think it would have been.
Yeah, which like is why I didn't even make one
And I know-
sliver of an attempt.
And
to
I know
find
there
it.
are episodes of Ballers, which I also watched, starring Dwayne Johnson. I did not pursue those episodes. I wouldn't recommend anyone do. Just on principle. You know,
principle.
hey, they worked hard on these episodes.
Yeah,
Right.
Ballers. It's an
Shout out
important show.
Datch for
All
being
right,
part of the
it's-
1%.
Yes.
Hey,
Not alone.
Yeah.
It's a lot. It's a lot larger than 1%. Actually, it's just
Probably.
Game of Thrones fans are super vocal,
Yeah.
and they're just rabid. So that's why it seems like there are a lot more of us.
I wish I had a nickel for every time somebody said, "You haven't seen Game of Thrones."
Oh my god.
And it's just like, I'm not doing it intentionally. I have nothing against it. I'm just lazy. I don't pay attention.
Again,
I got
it all
about-
goes back to laziness.
I get about 10 minutes into it, and it's just like, what's going on Reddit?
Yeah, that's the type of show you need like a pen and paper. You need to take notes.
Yeah.
And, like, review your
The
notes.
first-
the next day.
And
First
that's why it's
season-
endearing. I get
The
that.
first season was really tough to get. The first couple of episodes, because you're like, everyone has all these names and they're introducing a myriad of characters, and you're
right.
just,
And once you get to know them, they all get murdered.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
that's nice.
That's not a
Good to know.
secret.
I know.
It's not a secret.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Everyone dies.
Great.
All right, we should probably wrap it up soon.
Yeah,
but
let's wrap it up there.
Yathu's asking about the forthcoming studio tour. We are working on
Oh,
it.
yeah.
We heard you guys' requests loud and clear. It can't. It's kind of falling on the back burner just because there's a lot coming up. We got another Samsung event on the horizon, so
Yep.
we got to crank out other stuff. But I am talking to Beecham in San Francisco, and there's definitely an interest. It could be fun. We hope to get that to you guys soon.
And
so
thanks for bugging Brian about that.
Yeah,
it's a
totally.
good idea.
But
Yeah,
we've got
it'll be
got
fun.
a really busy fall coming up between Note, our road trip series is still going on, and then we've got iPhone in September. So it's a
When's
busy
the
time.
Google Pixel
Sure is.
2 expected? Is that supposed
probably
to be
October.
September, October? Okay.
September,
I'm
October,
very interested
yeah.
to see what that looks like.
Same here.
Nice.
I'm like debating between buying that GS8 versus waiting for the Pixel 2.
We'll see.
Hard decision.
I don't
Yeah.
know. It is. I know this is a serious 1% problem or first world problem. 1% problem. First world problem.
yeah, you're not kidding.
I didn't know you got paid that much.
No, I don't. Jeez.
All right, bring us home, Roger.
All right. If you liked anything you saw or heard here, check us out on CNET. Our podcast is also available on iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Google Play, and
Feedburner.
Feedburner. I always miss one.
It's all right.
It's all right. See y'all tomorrow.
Thank you, Brian, for joining us.
Thank
you
you.
for having
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.